Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Collaborative Edges, conversations to inspire initiatives across languages and cultures. I'm Rocío Quispe-Añoli, the host of Collaborative Edges at Michigan State University. Today, we begin our conversations about the 2020 MSU Latinx Film Festival. We have in the studio Scott Boehm, Professor of Spanish and Global Studies at Michigan State University and Director of the MSU Latinx Film Festival. We also have one of the members of the festival's communication and media team, Claudia Berríos-Campos, Ph.D. candidate in Hispanic Cultural Studies. Welcome, bienvenidos, Scott and Claudia.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Good. Let's start reviewing the main information of the festival, Scott. Between February 12 and 16 this year, we will have the second edition of the MSU Latinx Festival. Could you tell us more about what you and your team have prepared this time in terms of program, venues, activities, etc.?
Sure, thank you, and thanks for this opportunity to talk about the second edition of the festival. The first one was in 2018, so we run it every 2 years, and we've been working hard to prepare a much bigger edition this time around, so we've added an extra day. It'll be 5 days instead of 4. And the first time around, we had about 7 feature films, and we have about double that this time. So the scope is a lot bigger. We've grown a lot, and we've added new elements as well, which includes live music, new media, and then new community collaborations, and we've added a bunch of new venues, such as the Lansing Public Media Center, the East Lansing Public Library, WKR, the Broad Museum, and then we were also moving to Celebration Cinema for the closing day.
Yeah, that is way larger than the festival 2 years ago. Now, I read in the festival's web portal that films from Colombia, Panamá, Argentina, Peru, Cuba, Paraguay, Puerto Rico, and other countries will be shown. Could you give us some examples of the films that we will be seeing?
Well, I would like to highlight a couple of films that I think the topics are very important nowadays, and they speak to major concern, not just in our department or community, but I think through the whole world. One of the most important ones are Retablo, which is a Peruvian film directed by Álvaro Delgado Aparicio. And I would like to mention that this film has been nominated to 2 major awards, as considered as the Peruvian representation at the Oscars, and it has also been nominated to the BAFTA Awards. Mm-hmm. And this movie, Retablo, highlights the presence of indigenous communities, indigenous languages as Quechua and Indian culture. Another movie that highlights these topics is Birds of Passage, which is a Colombian movie that highlights the language of the Wayuu people, which is an ethnic community from the Arawak family. And it's also interesting because another important topic is the drug trade. And one of the elements that Scott was mentioning that we have included in this new edition is a new category of films. In this case will be the Dora and the Lost City of Gold, which is a movie for a younger audience, kids and young adults, and has a nostalgic element to it, remembering the animated cartoons of Dora, but also deals with topics that are common with these other movies like indigenous languages, indigenous representation, immigration, sense of belonging. So those 3 movies I'm very excited about.
Yes. And Scott, is there something you would like to add? Because there are so many movies this time.
There are so many. So I'd like to point out a few. So our opening night, we have an opening reception at the Broad Museum, and we're preparing a short film program for that, as well as some music. We'll have a string quartet playing in conjunction with some food and drink. And then after that, we have our opening feature film for the festival over at WKR, which is called the Pushouts. There was actually a screening of it a few months ago that had a small audience. We're hoping to get a big audience from the whole community. It's a really remarkable documentary, and the title refers to a way of reframing the idea of high school dropouts, which places the emphasis on individuals not being able to cut it or to make it, to pushouts, which puts the emphasis on how the system is structured to disadvantage poor people of color who are not able to continue in the higher education system. So it follows mainly one person, Victor Rios, who was in a gang and had been in prison by the time he was 15 and then was able to beat the system with the help of Martin Flores, other people. Follows his story, but then also takes a really close look at our educational system and how it needs to be rethought and reformed. So I really hope people make it out to that event. We're going to have a great panel that Cali is organizing. So that's Capital Area Latina Youth. And we hope to have representatives from Cali, as well as a local high school teacher, and then other people from the College of Education here at MSU. So that's very exciting. And then we're opening with that on the next day, which is actually one of our biggest days, Thursday. We have a very big program in the library this year, which includes a focus on new media. And so one of the things we wanted to do for this edition was to really maximize or leverage the university's resources. And so we have a virtual reality program, and then also we're using the 360-degree video space, both of which are in the digital humanities spaces in the library. So we'll have a short panel to introduce both of these pieces, one of which, the virtual reality piece, is called The Use of Force. It's an award-winning virtual reality installation experience that was done by a journalist called Noni de la Peña. It debuted at the Tribeca Film Festival not too long ago, and it treats the death of Anastasio Hernandez Rojos at the border by border agents. The second new media installation, which is in the 360-degree video space that we have, is actually being put together by an MSU undergraduate named Leonardo Vallejo, and that focuses on the Rio Grande River Valley, which is where he's from. So that's also exciting to get students involved in the festival, which is something we're trying to do also through our short film competition, is to get people making cinema and telling their stories through different media. And then jumping to the closing day, we're also very excited about having 3 films at Celebration Cinema. And at least one of the directors will be with us, Paul Espinosa, the director of Singing Our Way to Freedom, which is a documentary as well that focuses on music and the Chicano movement in Southern California for the most part. So Paul Espinosa will be with us for most of the festival, actually. So he'll be participating in our meet and greet on Saturday, along with another invited guest that we have, who is Ozzy Rivera, who's a musician himself, and a Detroit institution who is involved in the civil rights movement and has ties to Motown and is really quite an institution. So we're happy to have them. But I'm also very excited about the other 2 films for that closing day. Nae Pasaran, which is a really interesting film that deals with the Chilean dictatorship and a work stoppage that happened in Scotland that has some ties to what's happening now. We're also bringing in a couple of short films that's looking at protests that are happening in Chile at the moment. And Land of Ashes, which is the first film by Sofia Quiroz Ubeda, who is from Argentina, but the film is set entirely in Costa Rica. It has an all-black cast, and it's a really just beautiful meditation on loss and coming of age. It's a very poetic film. It's really beautiful.
Yes, it's. I have noticed the diversity and the inclusion of the programming that you are preparing for this film festival, which is very commendable, because I see, in terms of genres, I see films, documentaries, short films, which usually don't have much room in film festivals. Also, I like very much what Claudia pointed out in terms of the language diversity. That is a very pleasant surprise, I should say, and I see that advancing slowly, shyly, but at the same time in a firm way in general in the cinema industry, because from what I was able to see in the web portal, we have Colombia, no, the Colombian film that uses one of the indigenous languages.
Yes,
you said
language, yes, from the Arawak language family.
Yes.
Also, there's another movie that uses an indigenous language, which is Siete Cajas, or Seven Boxes.
From Paraguay.
Yes, from Paraguay. And we feature Guarani, but also Korean.
Korean, yes. Yeah. That is very interesting.
And that, of course, has Quechua.
Yes, of course, yes. So I think that is one of the things we need to point out, the language diversity, and who would think Korean in Paraguay, right? So that is very exciting and very important. And the other thing is also these new media, as you call it, Scott, because I see virtual reality. Also, we will talk a bit about this, the live concerts, music. You know, it's included in the festival as well as all the film showings. So that it's ambitious, it's diverse, it's exciting, I should say.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go a little bit to another feature. In addition to the live music with live performances, I noticed another feature of this second edition, which is new, the short film competition Sin Fronteras. Could you tell us a bit more about this? How did you come to this idea? What are the goals of this competition? What is the deadline? And will the short films produced in this for this competition will be showcased, perhaps not during this festival, but in future festivals that you may organize?
Sure. I think this film competition is an outgrowth of our mission and the first edition, in which we ourselves produced a short film that ended up being much more successful than we ever anticipated. And we like the idea of opening up new spaces to be able to talk about issues that are important to our community. So we're able to do that by bringing in films that speak to those issues that also have global implications as well. But we wanted to promote filmmaking within Lansing, within MSU, and also within the state of Michigan, and then provide an opportunity for people to make films and then have their work be shown on screen. So we are actually scheduling a slot on Saturday morning at the Lansing Public Media Center to screen the films. The deadline has been extended. This is the first time we're doing it, so not many people know about it. This is a start. We'll continue to grow this as the festival grows. So the deadline is Friday, February 7th at 11:59 p.m. That's our deadline, which is very close to the festival, so we'll have a quick turnaround, but they're short films. There's a 10-minute limit. So we're really hoping that we'll get young people in the area to make films. That's one of my big goals, but also we hope that we get people from around the state who would like to make films that touch on any issues that they're concerned about. It can be documentary, it can be fiction, any genre, really anything goes.
But there is a specific topic.
The topic is Sin Fronteras, but we chose that so it could be as broad as possible. So no limits. This is what we're thinking about. Obviously, there's the political implications, which we stress in our program on Thursday on immigration and the wall, the rhetoric that's being promoted, xenophobic rhetoric that we want to cut through this competition. But it's also conceived very broadly. So anything that has to do with Latinx issues, we'll take a look at. I should also mention there's 3 prizes. So if anybody's listening and you think you can't do it in the short amount of time that's left, maybe this will motivate you. So we have actually 3 prizes. We've put $1,000 behind this. So we will, as a committee, choose the best film, in our opinion, which has a prize of $500, and then also the Latinx Advocacy Award, which has a prize of $300. And then at the screening, we will vote, and we'll have an audience award that is also $200. So we hope that encourages people to submit, and hopefully it'll be a great program.
One question out of curiosity: how short a short film can be to qualify to be a short film?
We didn't put a minimum. We have a maximum of 10 minutes. It could be a minute long. It really could if it's good. That's difficult, but also it's difficult to make a good short film that's 10 minutes or so. So I would say the sweet spot would be about 3 to 6 or 7 minutes, probably.
In your experience, if you want to have a 10-minute short film, how much filming you have to do to...
It depends. This is modeled around a 48-hour film competition or a fortnight film competition, which is what Capital City Film Festival does. So basically you have 2 weeks, there's a theme, and each group has certain elements that they have to incorporate into the film, into the film that they make. And so there's a very limited time window. Same with the 48-hour film festival. You don't have a lot of time to film so much. So we wanted to have a little bit more time for people to make things since it's the first time we're doing it. But to make a 10-minute short film, you would need to shoot many hours of footage. So, but to make a 3 to 5, 6-minute short film, I think that's possible even within the short time.
For instance, the short film you made about DACA, a dream referred. I think the length is about 5 minutes. The final length?
It's a little bit longer than that. Yeah, I can't remember anymore.
Yes. But it doesn't reach 10 minutes.
It's right around there.
Or it's around there.
Yeah,
okay, that's good. Yeah. So how much filming did you do to get to that outcome?
That was about a week. It was about a week in total of shooting.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 3 weeks left. You can do it. You just need to leave time for editing. So
good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I would like to conclude this conversation thanking our guests today, Scott Boehm and Claudia Berríos-Campos, and invite you to attend the 2020 MSU Latinx Film Festival this February 12th through 16 at various locations, such as the auditorium of the Residential College in Arts and Humanities and MSU libraries, both in the MSU campus, the Lansing Public Media Center, the Robin Theater, the Celebration Cinema in Lansing. And before we go, Scott, would you like to share some specific information?
Sure. Yeah, we've talked a little bit about the integration of music into this festival, but I would like to maybe highlight 2 things we didn't talk about specifically. So on Friday, when we are over at the Arca Theater on campus, in between 2 feature film screenings and a small reception, we will combine music and film, actually, to have a focus on Puerto Rico. So this is when Ozzy Rivera, the musician I mentioned earlier, will be playing with his band, Reconstructure. But before he plays, and that will actually have an interactive element. So it's on Valentine's Day. We want to make it a fun evening. So if you want to get up and dance, you'll be able to do that. But before he plays, we're going to show 2 short films that have to do with Hurricane Maria that were produced by Puerto Rican directors. And so I think that's a really, really great combination of the 2, which should be a lot of fun. And then on Saturday night, we will be over in Rio Town for most of the day, first at Lansing Public Media Center, then at La Casa de Rosado with an informal meet and greet in the afternoon where you'll be able to meet our invited guests. We'll do a short interview with them. It was a great time during the first festival. So after, I invite you, encourage you to go to that. And then after, we'll move just around the corner to the Robin Theater to see Retablo. And then we'll follow that film with Rubén Blades, or Rubén Blades is not my name, which is a great documentary. It's a lot of fun. You'll want to move your body afterwards. And so you'll be able to do that. We'll move over to the Lansing Brewing Company, which is a new collaboration as well. And we've got a reception and a concert by Salsa Verde, which is an MSU salsa band, which is great. So it's kind of like the after party we didn't have the first time around. So we really hope you'll join us for all of this.
And since it's a lot of information, where can people find the information to know where to go, when, for what?
So all of the information will be available on our website, which is MSULatinxFilmFestival.com. We hope to have all of the information finalized and up on that website by Monday, January 24th.
Okay. Thank you very much, Claudia.
Thank you, Rocio.
How has been your work in this film festival this time?
This time, I talked with Scott and we decided that I was going to contribute with the media aspect. So I have been trying to reach out to members of the community that can speak to some of the topics from the movies that we are trying to showcase. and also just as a connection with the first film festival and trying to bring what was successful during the first festival and what can be improved during the second as a memory of the film festival.
Yes, before we finish, what is the social media coverage you have? You have Twitter,
Yep.
Instagram?
So Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll be active on all of those starting on Monday, the
Good.
24th. Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, thank you very much again for being here today. And let's say our closing. The ideas and opinions expressed on this podcast do not reflect those of the College of Arts and Letters, any of our sponsors, or any official entities at Michigan State University. I also want to thank our technical producer, Daniel Trego. Tune in for our next podcast, which will feature participants, hopefully, and guests of the 2020 MSU Latinx Festival. Thank you.